How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Patriot DIY channel. In this video, I'm going to do something that no woodworker on YouTube has ever done. I'm going to show you how to build a clamp rack. Alright, now that's obviously not true. There are tons of videos on YouTube showing you how to build clamp racks, clamp storage. So what I'm going to be showing you today is not revolutionary by any means, but what I am going to do is save you a lot of time. So what I did was I scoured YouTube and the internet because some designs work better for some applications and some work better for others. So I'm going to be showing you what I think are the two best clamp rack designs. I'm also going to have some digital plans for you linked in the description below, so make sure you check those out. And if this interests you guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, hit that notification bell, and give us a thumbs up. Now, it's probably not news to you that woodworkers need lots of clamps, lots of different style clamps. And as your collection of clamps grows, it can get pretty out of control. Honestly, what I've been doing until now is just clamping them down to that workbench you see back there behind me. So let me show you what I'm going to do. Now, you guys might remember about a year ago, I built this big, beautiful French cleat wall. Well, you can see how that's looking right now. It's still bare. I haven't really built anything to put on it. The reason for that is because I got really preoccupied over here on this side of the shop. But now it's time to get back to some organization. So this clamp rack video is going to be the beginning of a long series of videos building tool holders to go on the French cleat wall. Now don't worry, guys, the clamp rack design that I'm going to be showing you will work without the French cleat as well. But if you're interested, I'll also put a link to the plans for the French cleat wall in the description. Now I think that's enough talking. Let's get to work. Now the great thing about this project is it can be done entirely with scrap plywood, and that's what we're doing. So first we need to cut everything down to size over at the miter saw and the table saw. For this first rack, we're going to need a 3.5 inch strip, a 6 inch strip, and a couple 6 inch squares. First, we're going to focus on that 3.5 inch piece. So I'm going to mark a line 1 inch down from the edge of the board. Then I'm going to mark an intersecting line every 1.25 inches going down the length of it. Before I do any cutting, I'm going to take it over to the router table and I'm going to round over these edges with a 1/8 inch round over bit. And then we'll take it over to the drill press and we're going to drill a 3/8 inch hole at each mark. And then back over at the bench, we're going to extend a line down from each side of the holes. Then we'll take it over to the bandsaw to cut out these slots. Now we need to figure out the shape that we're going to use for our end pieces. So I'm going to measure and mark out the shape that I think is going to work on these 6 inch squares. And once I've got it how I want it, I'm going to stack all of these and tape them together so I can cut them all exactly the same. and I'll be cutting these down on the bandsaw and the miter saw. Then I'll take those over to the router table and round over those edges. Then before we assemble it, we're going to give everything a good sanding. I did find that a piece of sandpaper wrapped around a pencil was a great way to get down into those slots. Now we're ready for assembly. So I'm going to take our 6-inch back piece and I'm going to mark a line 1.5 inches from the top. This is going to be the location of our slotted piece. Now you're going to want to go ahead and lay this out and mark out the location for your screws so that they land in the meat of this piece and not going through one of the notches. Once I've got that marked out, I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill and countersink these holes. And before we screw this in, I'm going to put down a bead of wood glue and then clamp it together. And no, it's not lost on me that I'm using clamps to assemble a clamp rack. Once I've got it in place, I'm going to secure it with some brad nails and screws. Once I had this together, I did decide to go back and add a few more screws just to make sure it was extra strong. Now we're ready to attach our end pieces, and we're just going to be doing that with some wood glue and brad nails. Only thing left to do is attach a French cleat, which is basically just a 3-inch strip of plywood with 145-degree edge. And just like everything else, this will be attached to the back of our rack with wood glue, tacked in place with brad nails, and secured with screws. And that's it, guys. Our first clamp rack is finished. Moving on to our next style of rack, again, we're just going to be using some scrap plywood, ripped down into 9-inch sections on the table saw. I'm going to stack these and temporarily secure them together with painter's tape and CA glue. Once I've done that, I'm going to measure and mark out a triangle shape that'll act as the arms for our clamp rack. Then I'll clean up the edges on the table saw and cut out the shape on the miter saw. These will act as the sides of our clamp rack, and we'll have 1.25 inch strip sandwiched between them at the back. But of course, before we assemble it, we're going to go ahead and round over those edges at the router table. Now we're ready to assemble it, and we're going to be doing that with wood glue and brad nails. Now we need to attach a small section of French cleat on the back, and we'll do that the same way we did on the other rack. And that's it. You have a very sturdy and super modular clamp rack. All right guys, so that's our two different styles of clamp rack. Fairly simple designs, but I think it should cover pretty much any clamps you have. First, we have our traditional slotted clamp rack. This particular one will hold up to 18 clamps of all types, parallel clamps, F-style clamps, quick clamps, pretty much anything this will work for. It keeps them neat and organized and makes a nice looking display in your shop. And don't forget guys, I will have plans for this clamp rack in the description below if you want to build one for yourself. One variation of this that you could do is just to make this back piece a little higher and add a shelf on the top just for some extra storage options. Now the other style that we've built is super adjustable. It takes up a very small space on your wall, but it can hold a lot of clamps oriented side by side this way. This style of clamp rack works great for really heavy stuff like your parallel clamps. And while our other style of rack is great, if you just have a ton of clamps and you want to limit the amount of space that you're taking up, this works great because it stores your clamps out perpendicular to the wall rather than taking up a wide section of your wall this way. But this style will also work for pretty much any style of clamp that you want to put in it. And of course, as a bonus for our shop, we added French cleats on the back so we can hang it on our French cleat wall. And that's what we're going to do right now. All right guys, that's it, and I think it looks great, and I can't tell you how satisfying it is to finally be getting a little bit more organization in the shop, utilize this French cleat wall, and get those clamps up and out of the way until I need them. One thing I really love is just how modular this is, and I really like the 24 and 12-inch lengths that we went with for our slotted clamp racks. It really gives you a lot of options like stacking them the way we did or button them up side by side for a longer section of clamps. And I think it pairs really nicely with our other style of clamp rack for larger stuff like parallel clamps, bar clamps, and things like that. I'd love to get y'all's feedback. What did you think about these clamp racks? What would you have done different? Let us know in the comment section below. That'll help everybody out. And don't forget guys, if you want to build these clamp racks for yourself, I will have plans linked in the description below. It's going to be a bundle package, so you get the plans for both styles of clamp racks in one document. I'll also link to the plans for this French cleat wall as well. So hope this video helped you out guys. As always, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.